confirm the recording is started and
the live stream.
The live stream.
Okay, thank you. Right, welcome back to the meeting of the Aberdeenshire Licensing Board. We're on item 8, which is an application for a personal licence, and it's a hearing, and the applicant, Chelsea Brown, I think has been invited into the meeting.
Yes, Chair. Ms Brown, it's either *5 or *6. If you press that on your phone, you will come off mute. I think you're showing as unmuted now. Can you just...
hello.
Yeah, can hear you.
Okay. So please note that the board meeting will be recorded and published online for public viewing after the meeting. Can I just ask Deputy Clerk to confirm the procedure for the hearing, please?
Thank you, Chair. This application was previously considered by the board in October, and it was deferred so that additional information that the Police Scotland advised the board of could be provided both to the board and to the applicant for comment prior to determination of the application. The updated information from Police Scotland is included in the board report along with the applicant's written submissions. The applicant was not able to attend the previous meeting of the board. I therefore recommend that the board hear this application de novo, which means as if they didn't consider it in October. So the procedure is as set out in the report: to hear from the applicant, to hear from the police. The applicant will be given a chance to respond to the police submission, questions of either party from board members, concluding remarks in reverse order, police then applicant, with no new information being led, and then the matter will be open for debate and decision by the board. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So can I just confirm that Chelsea Brown is present? Are you there, Ms Brown?
Yeah, I'm here.
And can I also confirm that Sergeant Grant from Police Scotland is with us?
Yes, I am, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So in line with the guidance that you've received in the public participant meeting protocol for licensing board hearings, can you mute your microphone when not speaking? If your phone permits this, please do not speak unless I invite you to do so, and please do not interrupt other speakers. If you do, you may be removed from the meeting. Once you've been asked to make concluding remarks, you're not entitled to speak again unless to answer a question from a board member. Once the board has made its decision, you will be asked to leave the meeting. If the board requires to adjourn to deliberate the application, the recording of the meeting will be paused and the board will retire to a separate online meeting room. Please wait in the main meeting room until the board members return and I resume the meeting. And at that point, the recording will be restarted. So first of all, Ms Brown, I'm going to come to you, and this is your chance to outline the terms of your application to the board and address the concerns raised in the representation, although you will get further opportunity to address the board after the other parties have spoken, and obviously you'll be able to answer questions. So this is your chance to tell us about your application. Over to you, Ms Brown.
Okay, thank you. Just to start off, I apologise for not making it to the last hearing. I was short-staffed and I had to keep the shop open to the public as some rely on it. But I'm looking to get my personal licence as I was promoted to manager just over a year ago, and I had a supervisor that was on the licence but is now left. So I've had to get another supervisor on the licence, which is not ideal as I don't know how long she will stay, and it's just her I have as a personal licence. As I've said in the written submissions, that after watching the
Chair, Ms Brown has left the meeting for some reason. Yeah. Hopefully she'll dial back in. If we could just...
We'll just wait, yes.
Pause a moment. Pause. If not, we'll try and get her back in. I am going to try and dial her back in, Chair. Hello? Hello, Ms.
Hello,
Brown?
sorry, I don't know what happened.
It's
You're
okay.
back. That's okay.
Just carry on.
As I said in my written submission, that after watching the hearing back, that I said it was a family disagreement. I should have said that the first one wasn't family, but the conversation was. But the second one is my partner of 8 years' daughter-in-law, and the conversation was about her not letting my partner see her grandkids because of me. It was a touchy subject, and there was too much alcohol, too much people around shouting, and it did get out of hand. I did get took to the police station and got let out the same night, and I took the consequence at court for my actions. I do understand that it was wrong to act that way. I was 23 when it happened. I'm 27 now. I've matured and not done anything like it again, and nor will I ever. That's about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can I now ask Sergeant Grant to speak to the police representation, please?
Thank you. I'm addressing the board today in relation to the application of a grant of a personal licence for Chelsea Brown of 31 Crossholds Crescent, Peterhead. And I would like to advise you that based upon information we have, that the applicant has one offence, and that she was convicted on the 27th of August 2021 at Peterhead Sheriff Court for assault ×2 and fined a total of £320. The circumstances of that offence are as follows: that during the evening of Saturday the 1st of February 2020, the applicant was drinking within a licensed premises known as Mambo's nightclub on Queen Street, Peterhead. She approached a female patron, grabbed her by the throat, which was witnessed by a member of door staff. The door steward approached the applicant, removed her hands from the victim's throat, and as the applicant was being removed from the premises, she grabbed her victim's friend by the hair and attempted to pull her along the street. Whilst being restrained by door staff outside the premises, the applicant was heard shouting at one of her victims, "You are a dead woman." On the 27th of August 2021, the applicant was convicted as previously mentioned. We would like to recommend an objection to this application on the basis of preventing crime and disorder, and put that the board would refuse the application. Now, there's a second letter, I believe that Constable Dixon had read this to you on the 4th of October and mentioned there was comments within the police report that the board wished to know about. I've supplied those comments. If the board want me to read through the comments again, I will do, but effectively these are comments from the remarks section of a police report. The remarks section is the direct communication between the reporting officer and the procurator fiscal, and are not usually disclosable within the court proceedings themselves. These comments can range for a number of things, from logistical things to do with the report to requests. And in this case, it's a request for the applicant, the accused on the report, to be subject to bail conditions, not to be allowed to enter any licensed premises within the Peterhead area whilst the court case was pending. These bail conditions are no longer live, given that the court case has been dealt with, and I've had a look at the database, or several parts of the police database, and I can't see whether those bail conditions were ever applied or not. So I don't know if they were accepted by the PF. It was just a request. From speaking to Constable Dixon, I believe that his thinking behind advising you of those was that it shows the level of seriousness that the reporting officer deemed the case to be, that they asked for these bail conditions to be implemented. The board want me to read through them. I'm quite happy to do so if needs be.
Okay, thank you. Do members want to hear the bail conditions? I see some yeses and some noes, so I would suggest yes.
It's not the conditions themselves, it's what's on the letter itself. I'll just be reading out the letter again.
Okay. I think maybe for the purposes of the recording that you could do that.
Okay. Not a problem at all. So the remarks section contained the following. Police force priorities of tackling alcohol-fueled antisocial behaviour and violence are directly impacted upon by incidents which occur within or near licensed premises by persons who have been drinking alcohol. Accused conduct in this incident contribute to the public perception and fear of experiencing antisocial behaviour, disorder or violence in our communities. For these reasons, and in order to prevent crime and disorder and secure public safety, it is respectfully requested that should accused be released on bail, that special conditions are imposed, excluding her from all premises licensed under the Licensing Scotland Act 2005 in the town centre of Peterhead. Accused is already banned from the premises by the licensee. However, it is requested that upon conviction, consideration be given to seeking an exclusion order in terms of Section 1 of the Licensing Premises Exclusion of Certain Persons Act 1980, prohibiting accused from entering any licensed premises within the town of Peterhead without the express consent of the licensee of the premises or his servant or agent. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Just for clarification as well, that there was no exclusion order added in the end. That was only a request, and that was never, no, the applicant was never subjected to that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So now I'll go back to you, Miss Brown, to see if you have anything you want to add after hearing the submissions from Sergeant Grant.
No, I think I've said everything that I need to say. It was just a really stupid thing to do that night. Too much drink and yeah.
Okay, thank you. I now invite board members to ask questions of both parties. Mr. Crowson, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to ask Sergeant Grant if that request for bail conditions would have been just for this one serious incident, or would there have been other incidents surrounding that sort of request?
No, that request would just be solely for this incident only.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Black, please.
Thank you, Chair. I would also like to confirm, asking Sergeant Grant, that the police have, you've checked and the police have no further records in the intervening 4 years of any further infractions. Thank you.
There's absolutely nothing that I would report to the board in respect of the applicant now.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Taylor, please.
Yes, thanks, convener. I would like to ask the applicant, Chelsea. Obviously, this application is an important application from your point of view, but what other actions have you taken, or do you think could be taken subsequent to what we've heard from the police in their report?
I'm not quite sure I understand your question, Mr. Taylor. Would you?
I'll rephrase it. I'm just asking if Chelsea has considered other actions that might have been possible to have taken or could take in the future to avoid a repetition of these circumstances.
Okay, can you answer that?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I'm really just I don't really go out much. When I do, it is just family events. Yeah, I don't really know what to say.
Okay, that's all right. That's okay. Mr. Mason, please.
Yeah, Ms. Brown, have you made peace with the person you had an argument with that night? Is that all clear now?
Yeah, there's no other issues now.
And Mambo's, they're all right with you? Have you been in Mambo's since? Or
And
You've kept away from them.
yeah, no, I don't go into Mambo's at all.
Okay, right. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Crowson, please.
Sorry, legacy.
Okay. Can I just ask, Ms. Brown, you say you're the manager in your current employment. What sort of place is that? Is it a licensed shop or is it a restaurant or what are we?
Yeah, it's a licensed shop. It's Morrison's.
And you're the manager?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Do you have anything now that you wish to say in closing, Sergeant Grant?
Just to reiterate, the reason for the objection is that it was a crime of violence on a licensed premises, and that's why we were objecting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Brown, do you wish to say anything in closing? But you can't add anything new at this stage.
No, that's all, thanks.
Okay, thank you. So, members, do you require legal advice from the clerk?
No.
No. Okay. So, can I please ask the Deputy Clerk to outline the terms of the legal test for the application?
Yes, thank you. Just bear with me till I find the legal test. So this is a personal licence application. All the competency issues for the application have been met. So the purpose of the hearing is to determine whether it should be granted or refused. In considering that, the grounds for refusal are that having regard to the licensing objectives, the applicant is not a fit and proper person to be the holder of a licence, or that it is otherwise necessary to refuse the application for the purposes of any of the licensing objectives. My advice to you would be that the police objection here relates to the fitness of the applicant to be a holder of a licence based on the prevention of crime and disorder licensing objective as a result of the previous conviction. If you're satisfied that a ground of refusal applies, you must refuse the application. If you're not satisfied that a ground of refusal applies, you must grant the application. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So, given members, I'll just ask you again if you need to deliberate the application. Do you need to retire?
No.
No. Okay, in that case, I can open for debate then, members. Ms. Sullivan, please.
I think the clean record of the last 3 to 4 years and the applicant's position as manager of a shop now, I believe that shows rehabilitation and that she is a fit and proper person to hold a personal licence, and would recommend that we propose that we grant the personal licence. Thank you.
Okay, so you're going with a motion at this stage then to grant.
Yep.
Okay. Ms. Black, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I would second that. I would reiterate, there's been a distance of time since the incident. The applicant is obviously very sorry for what happened, and has changed how she behaves and how she conducts herself. She obviously has a job of great responsibility now, which shows a lot to her character, that she has made those efforts to be a fit and proper person. And I would say that if her employer has the trust in her, then I think we absolutely should be granting this personal licence. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll bring in Mr. Goodall and then I'm going to check and see if we have an amendment. Mr. Goodall, please.
Thank you, Convener. I think it's right and proper that the police have brought this to our attention. It's a very serious offence to have happened. Having said that, I do believe that Mrs. Sullivan and Black's view that there has been a rehabilitation and that she is now in a position of responsibility negates that offence in the past. And I think that we should grant this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have an amendment to the motion from Ms. Sullivan? Mr. Adams, please.
Yeah, I'm inclined to uphold the information from the police and not grant the application. I think we are looking for someone of higher behavioural standards, etc., and an image. And alcohol is something that there's lots of concern about. So for those reasons, I would be looking to withhold the granting of a licence and call in a seconder.
Can I just clarify, Mr. Adams, that that's on the basis that the applicant is not a fit and proper person based on the prevention of crime licensing objective as a result of the previous conviction?
Correct. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder for that amendment, Mr. Menard?
Yes, I will concur with Mr. Adams there and second his motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from members? Mr. Crowson? You're muted.
Sorry, Chair. Thank you. I wondered if we can still check, since this was part of discussion, if this is a personal licence, it doesn't mean to say that it would only apply to the premises that she's working at just now, does it? She would be able to use it in other premises.
A personal licence can be used anywhere in Scotland, in any licensed premises in Scotland if granted.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Black, please.
Thank you for allowing me back in. I would just like to make comment on the amendment. I would note that when this offence happened, it was about a highly personal matter, and that it occurred when the applicant was 23 years old. She's obviously gone through a stage of maturity now, and it's 4 years later and has had no other issues, no other incidents, and that everyone deserves a second chance to be and to restrict what she's able to do with her career. I don't think that it is I wouldn't be able to live with myself, let's say, for restricting someone when she has obviously demonstrated that she has changed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Adams, please.
I would just reiterate we're following the police's recommendation on this and they still have current concerns. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Goodall.
I agree with Mrs. Black, but I'm not convinced. In fact, I would ask for clarity. Do the police have current concerns?
A question for Sergeant Grant, please.
Do you have concerns? I suppose it depends how you word the question. Have concerns that she will be assaulting people in Morrison's as a premises licence holder? Sorry, a personal licence holder. No, I don't. However, as I say, we are putting the objection in because she was convicted of a crime of violence whilst on a licensed premises, and we do not think that that is acceptable behaviour for a licence holder. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Fiona, do you want to come in? I see your hand up and then I'll go to Mr. Crowson.
It's just to say that it's for the board to determine whether the applicant is fit and proper. The Chief Constable, as well as having a legal duty to bring convictions before the board, also has the right to make a recommendation, which they don't always do. In this case, they have, related to the prevention of crime and disorder. So in response to the question put to Sergeant Grant, there are concerns on the part of the Chief Constable relating to the legal test, but it's not for Sergeant Grant to say that he has concerns. It's for the board to determine that the legal test either applies or doesn't apply. So in some respects, it was an unfair question to put to Sergeant Grant.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Mr. Crowson, please.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully my question is sort of similar, but maybe a fairer way of asking it. To Sergeant Grant, did you have a choice of whether to make an objection or whether it would be a representation, or was you sort of bound to make
Sorry,
an
Chair,
objection?
that's not a competent question. Whether an objection or representation is made solely lies within the remit of Police Scotland. So that's not something the board should be asking.
Okay, thank you. My apologies.
Okay. Right, so we have a motion and amendment, but just before we go to the vote on that, I would just like to say that, you know, in this case, the police have actually put in an objection. It's not just a representation, it is an objection. And it was a crime of violence. It wasn't a row or a slap even. It was a crime of violence, which I think for the public witnessing it would have been quite distressing. So for me as well, I would be supporting that objection, and that the applicant is not seen as a fit and proper person to hold a personal licence. Are we ready to go to the vote, or does anybody else have any comments they want to add? Miss Sullivan?
I would ask, is there, probably the wrong words, but is there some sort of statute of limitations on this criminal conviction? Is it going to be a relevant consideration for the rest of this lady's life, or does it expire
No.
within 5 years or 10 years? Or
No, only current convictions can be brought before the board. It's not like the Civic Government Act where spent convictions can be taken into account. Only current convictions. The normal lifespan for a conviction is 5 years unless it's really serious, when it can be longer. So once that conviction becomes spent, it will no longer be something that can be brought before the board as part of a personal licence. But
so would this come under the 5-year rule?
It's like this one would likely come under the 5-year rule. I would obviously have to check. Sergeant Grant may be able to answer that better than I can. But the whole point is, at this point in time, that conviction is current, and you have to determine the applicant's fitness to hold a licence based on the current information.
Yeah. Is that from the date of the offence or the date of the conviction? I assume it's date of the offence.
The date of the conviction.
Okay.
It goes from the date of the conviction, not from the date of the offence.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So can I just ask the Deputy Clerk please to confirm the motion and amendment?
Thank you, Chair. The motion is with Ms Sullivan, seconded by Ms Black, to grant the application on the basis that the applicant is a fit and proper person to hold a licence. The amendment is with Mr Adams, seconded by Mr Menard, to refuse the application on the grounds that the applicant is not a fit and proper person to hold a licence in relation to the prevention of crime and disorder licensing objective by reason of the previous conviction. Do you wish me to move to the vote?
Okay. Does anybody wish to sum up? Amendment first.
Nothing further to add other than following the police chief constable's recommendation that the person making the application is not fit and to hold such a licence. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And for the motion, anything, Ms Sullivan?
Yes, I would say that we are determining whether the time elapsed from the offence has been sufficient for this person to be reformed into a fit and proper person. Otherwise, they will automatically be seen as fit and proper in another year and a half. I believe enough time has elapsed that the applicant's clean record since then, that they have put themselves, they've worked themselves into a position of responsibility, and these kind of behaviours should be encouraged. There's no point somebody committing an offence and then realising that it doesn't matter what they do, that people won't give them a second chance, as Councillor Black said. Sorry, Ms. Black. So, yes, thank you.
I'm sorry, but the word second chance should be dropped, because you're not allowing the applicant to become a fit and proper person. They either are or are not a fit and proper person at this point in time.
Okay, in that case, I believe they are a fit and proper person and that they have shown this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So can we move to the vote, please?
Thank you, Chair. If you indicate when your name is called whether you're for the motion or the amendment. Mr. Adams.
Amendment.
Ms. Black.
Motion.
Mr. Crowson.
Motion.
Mrs. Ewanson.
Amendment.
Mr. Goodall.
Motion.
Mr. Mason.
Motion.
Mr. Menard.
Amendment.
Mrs. Nicholl.
Motion.
Ms. Sullivan.
Motion.
And Mr. Taylor.
Amendment.
Chair. The motion is carried by 6 votes to 4, so the application has been granted.
Okay, thank you. So can I just confirm the decision taken by the board is to grant the personal licence for Miss Brown, and I can confirm this hearing has now concluded. Thank you for your interest in this business. I will now ask you to leave the meeting, and the Deputy Clerk will confirm the position before we progress to the next item on the agenda. Okay, so thank you.
Ms. Brown, your application has been granted today. You will receive written notification of this within the next 7 days. There is a right of appeal to the Sheriff Court. If there's no appeal, your licence will be issued to you in due course. Thank you for attending today. Your phone's on mute, so you're free to leave the meeting.
Okay. Right, members, that takes us up to item 10 on the agenda, which is, let's just get to the right page, is a hearing for applications for occasional licence, and it's repeated applications policy that we're hearing this application under. I think we have the applicant. Yes, we have the applicant in the meeting. So I'll go to the Deputy Clerk to outline the terms of the application and confirm the procedure.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Addy should be present in the meeting, and I'll ask him to unmute his microphone shortly. These applications have been referred to the board in light of the terms of the board's repeated applications policy, which, as you've heard earlier, provides that where repeated applications for occasional licences have been lodged for the same unlicensed premises for no detail specific event, so for routine trading, and for a period of at least 3 months, such applications are not granted by the board under delegated authority, but require a hearing before the board. Applicants are expected to explain to the board why an application for premises licence has not been made. Section 3.14 of the report before you sets out the fact that a premises licence was previously applied for by the applicant. Despite repeated contact with the applicant requesting rectification of several matters that needed addressed in order for the application to be deemed to be competent, no response was received from the applicant. The board only has 6 months in which to process an application. This period was taken to its limits. Officers had no option but to declare the application to not be competent and to close that file down. So the whole point today is to hear from the applicant the justification for continuing to trade under an occasionals and why no premises licence has been submitted. Chair, I'll ask Mr. Addy, to either use *5 or *6 to unmute himself. And once I see he's unmuted, I'll confirm, Chair. He's put his hand up, but I can't unmute him. I can't do anything. He's now unmuted, Chair. The procedure today will be to hear from Mr. Addy, hear from the LSO. Mr. Addy will have an opportunity to respond, questions to both parties, summing up in reverse order before debate and determination of the applications. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So please note that the board meeting will be recorded and published online for public viewing after the meeting. And can I just confirm that Thomas Addy is present? Mr. Addy?
Yeah. Hello. Hi.
Okay, thank you. And can I confirm that Keith Simpson, the LSO, is present?
Yes, present.
Okay, thank you. So in line with the guidance that you've received in the public participant meeting protocol for licensing board hearings, please can you mute your microphone when not speaking if your phone permits this. Please do not speak unless I invite you to do so, and please do not interrupt the other speakers. If you do, you may be removed from the meeting. Once you've been asked to make concluding remarks, you're not entitled to speak again unless to answer a question from a board member. Once the board has made its decision, you will be asked to leave the meeting. If the board requires to adjourn to deliberate the application, the recording of the meeting will be paused and the board will retire to a separate online meeting room. Please wait in the main meeting room until the board members return and I resume the meeting. At that point, the recording of the meeting would be restarted. So can I first of all then go to Mr. Thomas Addy? So if you just outline the terms of your application to the board and address the concerns raised in the representation. Although you will get a further opportunity to address the board after other parties have spoken. So Mr. Addy, please.
Thanks very much, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I think if I take you all the way back to the start, we made an application for our premises license, and then subsequently put in for occasional licenses to allow us to trade while that was being processed. There were some queries that came back to us, including quite notably the drawings that we'd submitted were not up to scratch. We then commissioned an architect to get drawings up and running, and that took a bit of time. And so the initial application, if you like, sort of expired. I did have correspondence at the start of this year with which I forwarded the drawings, but unfortunately I was suffering, and I noted this in my correspondence, I was suffering some ill health. It's actually, I still have the health issues, but the immediate concern, basically I developed a pulmonary fibrosis, some fibrosis on the lung, and for a while I thought it was terminal, and I had very little time. And this isn't a sob story, but hopefully it'll explain why I wasn't really sharp on the correspondence. Subsequently, I've come to the conclusion with the help of my doctors that actually it's a chronic condition and not anything that's immediately life-threatening, which is good news. But nevertheless, in the course of this, what's now been sort of 16 months, I have without doubt taken my eye off the ball on this. And the last set of correspondence I had from Harriet Tevendale, I think it was some queries. It was a forwarding of a letter that I had received previously. I then gave that to a colleague of mine to look after while I was undergoing these sort of tests and things at the hospital. That kind of didn't get done. Now, I appreciate fully it's my responsibility to make sure that these queries were answered in good time, but they weren't. So that, I hold my hand up and apologize for that. The time then elapsed, and the application went dead. In the meantime, these occasional licenses have been applied for on a regular basis. You'll see they've been basically continual for the last, the whole year. and in a way, again, my bad, I didn't really realise that there was, you know, a maximum length of time or a reasonable length of time that these could be used. So in a way, the reapplication after the last one fell dead became sort of, I don't know, I suppose less important in terms of the, you know, my required action, and that combined with my health issues meant that I hadn't done it. The situation I'm in now is that we've got a good business, part of which is the sale of alcohol, the off sale of alcohol. It's a very welcomed addition to the, you know, the local business offering in Braemar. It's got a lot of local support, and I would like to make that application. I've just been reviewing now. I've actually got, you know, the application is basically sitting here pretty much ready to go. As I say, I've got the drawings, which I think you've now seen. The, you know, the new operation systems and everything I've got in place. It's a good thing and it's ready to go. What I would ask for consideration, if possible, is if these licenses could be approved, and furthermore, any more are approved in the interim while the application is being considered. And on my part, I will ensure that the full application is applied for, certainly within the first couple of weeks of the new year. As I say, I have it here very much ready to go almost, and that's about all I think I have to say on that. But thank you for your time. Hello?
Chair, you're on mute.
Oh, so I am. So thank you, Mr. Addy, for all that information that you've shared with us. And I'll now go to the LSO, Mr. Simpson, to speak to the representation.
Yes, thank you, Chair. This hearing relates to my representation for 3 occasional licences applied for by Mr.
Oh.
The occasional licences are for off sales only, where the shop sells a range of high-end spirits, particularly whiskies. Apologies,
Chair,
have I gone? Sorry,
we're losing
apologies.
Keith.
Do you want to try putting your camera off, Keith, see if that helps?
Okay. Okay, I'll keep going. Are you hearing me just now?
Yes, yeah.
Yep, okay. So the occasional licenses are for off sales only, where the shop sells a range of high-end spirits, particularly whiskies. On the 22nd of March 2022, a premises license application was received from the above named person for the Tor Workshop, Unit 3, Braemar News, Braemar. The application was processed in the normal manner, with the applicant being asked to provide more information to enable it to proceed. On the 11th of August 2023, the application was closed due to a lack of response from the applicant. The applications before you today cover a period of from the 26th of December 2023 to the 5th of February 2024, and are the most recent in a series of occasional licenses that date back to the 9th of August 2022. As a consequence, these applicants are inconsistent with the Licence Aberdeenshire Board Policy Statement for 2023 to 2028 at Supplementary Policy 4, Para 4.45 and 4.46, details of which are contained within the report. Whilst I'm not making any objection to these applications, it's incumbent on me to make the board aware of this potential inconsistency with policy. If the board are minded to grant these applications, my proposed conditions are set out in my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Keith. Mr. Addy, have you anything you wish to add now that we've heard from the Licensing Standards Officer?
No, not really. I think the only thing I would do is to reiterate my wish to, you know, formally resubmit the full premises license very early in the new year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Board members, have you any questions? Mr. Crowson?
Yeah, can I ask the licensing officer if that first planning application that was put in initially, if there would have been a fee paid for that?
Yes, it was paid, and because the application was processed to some degree, that application fee was not refundable. So a further application fee will have to be paid for a new application.
Yes, thank you. It was more just so there was no benefit to the applicant putting in an application that hadn't a fee attached, just for the purpose of appearing to have put an application in. So you would have lost out on that. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Mr. Taylor?
Yes, thanks, convenient. Excuse me. I would like to ask Mr. Addy if the premises application is ready to go. You originally commented it would be in the first few weeks of the new year, and it now says, and fairly recently you'd commented it would be in the very early days of the new year. So if it's ready to go, why can we not get it immediately?
What I'd say to that is that I have the information here, but it's not fully compiled into. It's not ready to go. It's nearly ready to go. I have the drawings. I have the information. I have a lot of that. A lot of it is still in my head, so to speak, and not actually written down fully in the application. But it's something that I basically need to devote a few hours of my time to putting it together fully and writing the application fully. Right now, this week prior to Christmas, I don't really have time for that, but will have time for that very early in the new year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions? Mr. Crowson?
A question for legal. If we were minded to grant this, what conditions could be attached to it, to this set of applications, to make sure that it is linked to the premises application being put in a timely manner?
Okay.
None.
Fiona?
None. You can only put the mandatory conditions and the conditions recommended by the police and the licensing standards officer. What you can do is I currently have no delegated authority to grant because we're beyond the 3 months. You can put in give me instructions to say that any future applications beyond the current ones are considered either in consultation with the convener, or they have to come back before the board for further explanation as to why the premises licence has not been progressed. My advice to you would be to the most pragmatic way to deal with it is to allow me the delegated power in consultation with the convener, and we can opt not to use that delegated power if we have concerns and bring it before the board. The next board is at the end of February. The current applications take the applicant through to the 5th of February, and he would need to lodge further applications in the new year to allow the 6-week processing time beyond that. So that would be the way that you would deal with it. You would restrict the delegated power to grant future applications, either to myself in consultation with the convener, or to bring those future applications back to the next board in February, which may result in a gap in trading between the 5th of February and the February board date, which I think is something like the 28th of February. So that's how you would deal with it, but you can't condition these occasionals to ensure that a premises licence is lodged.
I probably asked my question wrong, but that's the answer I was looking for. Thank you.
Very clever. Okay. Any further questions? Okay, in that case, I can go to the Licensing Standards Officer. Mr. Simpson, have you got anything to say in closing?
No, nothing further to add, Chair. Just really on the back of that, bringing this to your attention because of the continual use of occasional licences, and I'll leave that with the board to make their decision.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Addy, do you wish to say anything in closing?
Not specifically, just to thank everyone for their time and hope that this is seen favourably. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Do board members require any legal advice from the clerk? No. So could the clerk please outline the terms of the legal test for this application, please?
Thank you, Chair. If the board finds any of the grounds of refusal apply, the board must refuse the applications. If you found none of them apply, you must grant the application. The first ground of refusal is the premises to which the applications relate are excluded premises. I can confirm that does not apply in this case. Second one is that the application must be refused under certain sections of the Act, and again I can confirm that those sections do not apply here. The two potential grounds of refusal that are relevant to you today are firstly that the licensing board considers the granting of the applications would be inconsistent with one or more of the licensing objectives, or that having regard to the nature of the activities to proposed to be carried on in the premises to which the applications relate, the location, character and condition of the premises and the persons likely to frequent the premises, the board considers the premises are unsuitable for the use of the sale of alcohol. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So I'll open the matter now for debate, members. Anybody have any comments or anything they want to say? Mr. Crowson, please.
I know this is only discussion, but I would be minded to grant, given the explanation given for why the premises license, it has previously been applied for, and then there was a delay, but it would be for including the conditions that Fiona explained on, given having the convener the powers to do their job.
So not the conditions, the restriction of the delegated powers.
The restriction of the delegated powers.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Mason, please.
Yeah, what was I going to say? Sorry, I forgot what I was going to say there. My mind went on a different track there. Beg your pardon.
Okay. Is there a seconder if that was a motion from Mr. Crowson? Do we have a seconder? Ms. Black?
Yeah, I'm in total agreement. I would happily second that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Can I just confirm with members that you've received sufficient evidence upon which to make a decision? Go back a step since we've got a motion popping up.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, happy.
Yeah.
Is there an amendment? No. In that case, can you just confirm the motion, Ms. Stewart?
So the motion is to grant the applications before you today, but that any future applications for occasionals that come in are not granted under delegated powers by the clerk, but are granted by the clerk in consultation with the convener, and where necessary, those applications will be referred to the board for further determination.
Okay, thank you. I think that's an acceptable condition. Is that a unanimous decision, members, that we grant? Subject to that condition, yes?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
can you just confirm the condition, the decision, sorry?
Thank you, Mr. Addy. The board has granted your current applications today, and that will be subject to the conditions recommended by the police and the LSOs that you've had on previous applications. However, future applications for occasional licences to continue trading while you apply for your premises licence will not be automatically granted under delegated powers by myself, but they will be considered in consultation with the convener as to whether or not they should continue to be granted or whether further applications will be brought back to the board for further explanation. Thank you for attending today. You'll receive written notice of the decision within the next 7 days.
Okay, so
Thank
you. And I can confirm that this hearing has now concluded. Thank you for your interest in this business, and I will now ask you to leave the meeting. And I think, members, we're coming to item 11 but I believe that item is no longer on the agenda today. Ms.
Yes,
Stewart?
Chair. The applicant, the license holder, we have had confirmation that the annual fee has been paid this morning. On the back of that, the Licensing Standards Officer has withdrawn the review application, so this hearing will no longer proceed. Further work will be done between the Licensing Standards Officer and the licence holder relating to some of the other issues that arose, and the licence holder has already been contacted this morning by both myself and the Licensing Standards Officer to that effect. So this hearing is now no longer proceeding.
Okay, thank you. So item 12 is the date of the next meeting, which I think has been mentioned today already, which is the 28th of February. Members note the date, and I can confirm that the meeting has now concluded and the recording will be stopped. And thank you for your interest in this business and your participation in the meeting today. So we'll just wait for the recording to be stopped.